My Calvary, the Talleyrand Empire made the worst decision of my military career. On a Tuesday morning at precisely 0800 hours, I struck a human, not in sanctioned combat, not in self-defense, in pure, uncontrolled rage. In 72 hours, that single punch would force me to do the impossible, unite 300 cadets from 47 species who'd spent centuries killing each other. Either we'd prove cooperation could save civilizations, or I'd doom the entire galaxy to war. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back. 3 days before the verdict that would change everything. The Galactic Military Academy hung in the void like a steel monument to order. 17 levels, 4,000 cadets, 47 species from across known space, all training together under one impossible ideal unity. I thought I understood that ideal when I arrived. I was wrong about many things. The shuttle docked at 0630. I was the first to disembark. Always first. That's what you do when you're a Talleyrand warrior caste. When you graduated top of your class at the Imperial War College. When your entire species is watching desperate for someone to restore their honor after the disaster of the Yevik border conflict. We lost 3 star systems in that war. 3. The shame still burned purple across my crest every time I thought about it. I had to be perfect. Had to prove Talleyrand's weren't finished. Had to show the galaxy we still mattered. The academy corridors smelled like recycled air and ambition. My boots echoed on polished metal floors. Other cadets moved aside as I passed. Good. Let them see a warrior. Let them remember what real military bearing looked like. My mandibles clicked softly as I reviewed the roster on my datapad. Standard orientation schedule. Combat theory at 0900. Tactical assessment at 11. Physical trials in the afternoon. I'd excel at all of it. I always did. Excuse me? I looked up. She was shorter than most humans. Maybe 5.5 feet. Dark hair pulled back in what they called a ponytail. Her uniform was regulation perfect, but something about the way she wore it seemed casual. Wrong. The name tag read Callus R. She'd stopped directly in my path. You're blocking the corridor, I said. My translator rendered my clicks and hisses into flat galactic standard. Yeah, I know. She smiled, actually smiled. Just wanted to say welcome aboard. You look like you could use a friendly face on your first day. A friendly face. From a human. A species that had been in space for approximately 2 solar years. A species that still used chemical propulsion when the rest of us were mapping hyperspace lanes. My crest flared violet, mild irritation. I am perfectly capable of navigating the academy without assistance from junior personnel, I said. Perhaps you should focus on your own orientation challenges. She didn't flinch, didn't apologize. Just shrugged another bizarre human gesture. Sure thing, buddy. Just trying to be neighborly. She stepped aside. Good luck out there. Buddy. She walked away before I could formulate a proper response to such casual insubordination. I stood there for 3 full seconds, mandibles working silently, before I remembered I had a schedule to maintain. That should have been my first warning about humans. It wasn't my last. Combat theory occupied the largest lecture hall on level 7. 200 seats arranged in steep rows facing a holographic combat arena. When I entered, the room was already half full. Species segregated naturally, Talleyrand's with Talleyrand's Yevik, with Yevik humans clustering together near the back like they weren't sure they belonged. They were right to be uncertain. I took a seat in the front row. Center position, where top students sit. The instructor arrived exactly on time. Commander Thexus, a 4-armed Calvarian with eye stalks that could track multiple students simultaneously. Rumor said he'd fought in the 12 campaigns and survived encounters that killed entire battalions. Welcome to Advanced Combat Theory, he said. His voice carried natural authority. This course will challenge everything you think you know about warfare. Many of you arrive with preconceptions, with pride in your species' martial traditions. That pride will be tested. The holographic arena flickered to life. It displayed a combat scenario, 2 opponents' neutral positions, standard engagement protocols. Today, we begin with foundations. Thexus continued, the core and suppression technique. 3,000 years of refinement, 17 precise movements designed to neutralize opponents of any physiology. Observe. The hologram demonstrated. Step 1, faint high. Step 2, lower center of gravity. Step 3, redirect opponent's momentum. On and on through all 17 movements, each one flowing into the next with mathematical precision. Beautiful, elegant. This was why I'd come to the academy, to learn from masters who understood warfare as art. Questions, Thexus asked. Silence. As it should be. You don't question 3 millennia of accumulated wisdom. Then a hand raised in the back. The human. Callus. My mandibles clicked once. Annoyance. Yes, Cadet Callus, Thexus acknowledged. She stood, confident, too confident for someone whose species had been spacefaring for less time than I'd been alive. I have a question about efficiency, sir. Proceed. Wouldn't a simple strike to the opponent's center mass be more effective than 17 sequential movements? If you hit here, she pulled up her own data pad highlighting a point on the holographic figure. At this angle, the opponent goes down regardless of their species physiology. One move versus 17. Just thinking about practical combat applications. The room went completely silent. You could have heard a photon drop. Several cadets hissed their disapproval. My crest went full purple, extreme agitation. Even some humans in the back looked uncomfortable, like they knew she'd crossed a line. Commander Thexus's eye stalk swiveled toward her. The technique has been refined across 3,000 years by the galaxy's finest warriors. Each step serves a specific purpose, tested in actual combat across hundreds of species interactions. Your concern is noted, but perhaps premature for someone with limited exposure to galactic martial doctrine. Translation: sit down and learn before you critique. But she didn't sit down. With respect, Sir, humans have been fighting each other for approximately 10,000 years. We know a thing or two about what works when your life depends on it. Sometimes simple is better than complicated. I couldn't contain myself. I stood, faced her across the lecture hall. Your species has been in space for approximately 3 minutes, I said. My translator couldn't quite capture the clicking emphasis I put on each word. You were still using chemical rockets when we were establishing interstellar trade routes. Perhaps you should master walking before you critique running. She turned, looked directly at me, that infuriating smile still on her face. Fair point about the space travel timeline, she said. Though I noticed the Talonran Empire lost a border war to the Yevik Collective last decade despite your thousands of years of experience. How'd all that traditional combat doctrine work out for you? No offense. The entire lecture hall gasped. Even Commander Thexus's eye stalks retracted slightly. That border war. She'd gone straight for the wound. The shame we carried. The failure that haunted every Talonran warrior. My crest blazed pure violet. My mandibles locked. For 3 seconds, I couldn't speak. Couldn't think. Could only feel the white-hot rage of being called out publicly for our greatest defeat. That conflict was a strategic repositioning, I managed. My voice came out too harsh, too loud. A calculated withdrawal in the face of superior numbers. The fact that we temporarily ceded territorial control and paid nominal reparations is purely coincidental to the larger strategic picture. Someone in the back laughed, actually laughed. That is enough. Commander Thexus's forearms crossed. Both of you, Cadet Veyron, Cadet Callus, save your energy for the combat trials this afternoon. Academic debate is encouraged. Personal attacks are not. Dismissed for break period. I stood there as the room emptied, watching that human walk away still smiling like she hadn't just humiliated me in front of 200 cadets. I should have let it go. Any rational being would have recognized this human as someone to avoid, someone whose casual disregard for protocol masked something dangerous. But I was young, proud, Talonran, and she'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. The news broke during the lunch period. Every screen in the Academy cafeteria lit up simultaneously. The Galactic News Network logo, then the anchor, a morphin with translucent skin that shifted colors with emotional content. Breaking development from the Galactic Council chambers. The Council has announced an emergency review of humanity's Federation membership status. The vote scheduled for 72 hours from now will determine whether Earth retains its seat or faces immediate expulsion. The cafeteria erupted. Humans clustered together, faces pale. Other species had talked in urgent whispers. I watched it all unfold with my nutrient paste untouched in front of me. The anchor continued. Council sources cite concerns about humanity's integration challenges, recent incidents of cultural friction, questions about compatibility with established Federation protocols, and what Archon Vral of the Corran delegation called disturbing patterns of aggressive behavior unsuited to civilized galactic society. They cut to footage. Archon Vral standing before the council chambers, his crystalline carapace reflecting studio lights. Humanity joined us only 2 years ago, Vral said. His voice carried the weight of authority. Already we see problems. Disrespect for tradition. Casual disregard for established procedures. They are too volatile, too unpredictable. Perhaps we acted too hastily in extending membership. Perhaps Earth needs another few centuries to mature before joining galactic civilization. The camera cut back to the anchor. The vote requires a simple majority. Observers consider the outcome uncertain. We'll continue coverage as this historic decision unfolds. The screens went dark. I looked across the cafeteria. Found Callus sitting alone at a corner table. She wasn't eating either, just staring at her tray like the nutrient paste might have answers. For the first time since our confrontation in combat theory, I felt something other than anger. Uncertainty, maybe? Or the beginning of something that might have been guilt. She'd been right about the Corin suppression technique, overcomplicated for practical application. I'd known it even as I argued against her, but tradition demanded respect for established doctrine, and she'd shown none. Now her entire species faced expulsion from the Federation, because they didn't fit, because they questioned too much, because they made the rest of us uncomfortable with their strange customs and casual hierarchies, and complete lack of reverence for the way things had always been done. I looked down at my own tray. We Talonrons had lost a war, lost territory, lost face. We were desperate to prove ourselves still worthy of respect. And I just publicly humiliated someone whose entire species was fighting for the right to exist in galactic society. My mandibles clicked softly. Uncertainty now, not anger. Maybe I should apologize. Maybe I should attention all cadets. Commander Thexus's voice over the academy-wide system. Combat trials begin in 30 minutes. Report to Arena 7 for randomized matchup assignments. Attendance mandatory. I stood, left my tray, headed for the arena. The apology could wait. First, I had to prove I was still the best. Arena 7 could hold 3,000 spectators. For the monthly combat trials, every seat filled. This wasn't training, this was spectacle. This was where cadets proved themselves in front of peers, instructors, and the academy's senior staff. Victories here opened doors. Defeats? Well, defeats followed you. I'd never lost a combat trial, not once. I checked my equipment for the third time. Standard shock baton. Contact delivered a painful but non-lethal electrical pulse. Enough to prove a point, not enough to cause permanent damage. The rules were simple. First to 3 clean strikes wins. No killing techniques, no permanent maiming. Everything else was fair. My first match lasted 47 seconds. Hurix cadet forearms naturally quick. He thought speed would overcome my training. He was wrong. I feinted high, went low, swept his legs while he was committed to blocking my baton. Strike 1 to his torso as he fell. Strike 2 before he could recover. Strike 3 when he tried to roll away. The crowd mixed reactions. Talonrons cheering, others polite applause. The Hurix section silent. My second match went longer. Morph an opponent nearly 7 feet tall using reach advantage effectively. Took me 1 minute and 18 seconds to close the distance and exploit the gap in his defense. 3 quick strikes. Victory. My crest blazed satisfied purple. 2 matches. 2 dominant performances. I watched the arena floor while they cleaned up from the previous bout. Other matches happening simultaneously on different sections. I tracked them all, analyzing techniques, noting weaknesses. Then I saw her. Callus, in Arena Section C, fighting a cell crack's 6 limbs natural armor, plating venom sacs that could paralyze in seconds. She looked small next to it. Fragile. Human physiology wasn't built for this kind of combat. Light bone structure, no natural weapons, just 5.5 feet of stubbornness and bad attitude. The cell cracks came at her with standard aggression patterns, trying to overwhelm with superior reach and natural advantages. Callus wasn't there. She moved like water, like she knew where every strike was going before it landed. The cell cracks lunged, she sidestepped. It swept low, she was already jumping. It tried to corner her, somehow she'd already circled behind. 3 strikes in 43 seconds. Faster than my first match. The crowd noticed, humans cheering wildly, other species watching with new attention. Even some Talonrans clicking their mandibles with grudging approval. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. She was good. Better than good. And I was scheduled to fight her next. Cadet Kael Veyron of Talon versus Cadet Rin Callus of Earth. Report to Arena Section A. The announcer's voice echoed across the facility. This was it. This was my chance to restore what she'd taken in combat theory. To prove that Talonran training, Talonran discipline, Talonran warrior tradition meant something more than her casual human efficiency. I took my position. Checked my baton one final time. Callus entered from the opposite side. still smiling. Why was she always smiling? Hey, Varen, she called across the arena. Good matches so far. You're fast. Was she being friendly, genuine? Or was this psychological warfare I couldn't tell? Prepare yourself, I said, formal, proper. Sure thing. She rolled her shoulders, stretched her neck, completely informal, completely wrong. The crowd settled, 3,000 species watching, waiting. The starting buzzer sounded. I exploded forward. Classic Talonran strike pattern. High feint to draw her guard up, then low sweep to take her legs, then mandible snap to disorient while she's off balance. It had worked on every opponent I'd ever faced. Callus wasn't there. She'd sidestepped so quickly I barely registered the movement. My momentum carried me past her. I felt a light tap on my lower spine, not a strike, not hard enough to count, just a message. I could have hit you there. I spun, mandibles clacking with frustration. She'd reset to neutral stance. Baton lowered. Waiting. Lucky move, I said, if you say so. I attacked again, more cautious this time, probing her defense, testing for openings. She deflected every strike with minimal movement, never overcommitting, never losing balance. Just enough force to redirect, never more than necessary. It was infuriating. Every technique I'd learned, every pattern drilled into muscle memory, she had an answer. Like she'd studied Talonran combat doctrine and found all the gaps we'd never noticed. Then I saw it. Her left side momentarily exposed as she blocked my overhead strike. There, I pivoted hard, brought my baton around in a devastating arc aimed directly at her ribs. Full power, full commitment, victory. Except Callus dropped under the blow. My baton cut through empty air where her torso had been a fraction of a second earlier. Her legs swept mine. The world tilted. I hit the arena floor hard enough to rattle my mandibles. Before I could process what happened, her baton pressed against my throat. Not painful, just there, undeniable. Yield, she asked, not breathing hard, barely winded. The arena was absolutely silent. 3,000 species holding their breath. A Talonran does not yield. We fight until unconscious or dead. It's in our genetic code burned into our warrior culture across 10,000 years of martial tradition. But this was a training match, and continuing would only compound the humiliation. I yield, I said. The words tasted like ash and failure. Callus removed her baton, extended her hand to help me up. I stared at that hand, at this human who'd just defeated me in 52 seconds in front of the entire academy, who'd embarrassed me twice in one day, who represented everything I'd been taught to look down on: primitive, undisciplined, inferior. I took her hand. Her grip was stronger than I expected. She pulled me up easily. Good match, she said. You've got solid technique. Maybe a bit too by the book, but definitely solid fundamentals. Too by the book. Too by the book. I pulled away from her grip. My crest blazed violet, so bright it hurt. Your combat style is reckless and undisciplined, I said, each word clipped, harsh. You rely on improvisation because you lack proper training. Yeah, maybe. She shrugged, casual, dismissive. But I won. She walked away, left me standing in the center of the arena, my pride shattered across the floor like broken glass. 3,000 species watching, recording, judging. The Talonran section, absolute silence. The human section, cheering. Everyone else, uncertain murmurs. I walked off the arena floor, didn't look at anyone, didn't acknowledge the attempts at consolation from fellow Talonran cadets. Just walked. That should have been the end of it. I should have accepted my defeat, learned whatever lessons were available, moved on with my training. But pride human, saying I'd learn later, pride is a funny thing. And by funny, they mean catastrophically destructive. Hours passed. The combat trial replayed in my head. Every moment, every failed strike. Every time she'd been exactly where I didn't expect. The ease with which she'd swept my legs. The gentle pressure of her baton against my throat. The humiliation. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't focus. Couldn't look at other Talonran cadets without seeing judgment in their eyes. He lost to a human. In 52 seconds. The news about humanity's trial continued. Every screen, every broadcast. 72 hours ticking down. Arguments for and against. Archon Vral giving speeches about human incompatibility with galactic civilization. And through it all, I saw her, Callus, in the corridors, in the cafeteria, in training sessions, always smiling, always casual, like she hadn't destroyed someone's entire self-image in less than a minute. I found her that night, in the training gymnasium. Late shift, almost midnight. She was working through a solo combat routine, moving through strikes and blocks with fluid grace that I grudgingly had to admit was impressive. Sweat darkened her uniform. Her breathing came in controlled rhythms. I watched from the doorway for 30 seconds before she noticed me. "Hey, Veron." She grabbed a towel, wiped her face. "Couldn't sleep either. I challenge you to an unsanctioned match." The words came out before I'd fully decided to say them. She stopped, towel halfway to her face, expression shifting from friendly to cautious. "Unsanctioned? You mean without official supervision?" "Correct. Right here, right now." She studied me for a long moment. I saw something flicker across her face. Not fear, something else. Concern, maybe, or recognition that this was a bad idea. "Look, Veron, I get that losing sucks. I've been there. But an unsanctioned match is against academy regulations. We could both get expelled. Are you refusing my challenge?" "I'm trying to use common sense here. The Talonran do not refuse challenges." My mandibles clicked rapidly. Sign of extreme agitation. "It appears humans do." I saw her jaw tighten, saw her posture shift. "Good. Let her feel it. Let her understand what she'd taken from me in that arena." "Fine," she said quietly. "Training weapons only. Yeah, first touch wins. Then we're done with this." Agreed. We took our positions. No referee, no announcer, no audience. Just two cadets about to do something spectacularly stupid. Callus raised her practice baton, settled into that same loose stance that had defeated me before. I was ready this time. I'd studied her movements, analyzed her patterns, spent hours doing nothing but replaying our match and identifying her tells. This time would be different. We began to circle. She wasn't smiling anymore. Maybe I should have wondered why. The fight started slow, both of us testing range, timing, neither wanting to commit first. Then I went for it. Full power strike toward her center mass, putting my entire body weight behind it. She sidestepped. I'd anticipated the movement, already pivoting, bringing my secondary attack around toward her exposed back. The baton connected with her shoulder blade. Victory surged through me. I'd won. I'd defeated the human who'd embarrassed me. But she wasn't stopping. Callus spun with the impact instead of against it, used my own force to accelerate her movement. Her elbow came around faster than should have been possible, and caught me directly in the side of my head. Training weapon or not, the blow rattled my skull. I staggered back, vision blurring. That wasn't a training strike. That was something else entirely. "Stop!" Callus lowered her weapon. "Veron, I tagged you. Match over." "Not finished," I slurred. My head rang like a struck bell. How had she hit so hard without a weapon? "You're hurt. We're done here." "Not finished," I charged. No technique, no tactics, just rage and wounded pride fueling my limbs. I threw combinations without thought. Everything my instructors had taught me abandoned in favor of pure aggression. Callus blocked, dodged, retreated. "Veron, stand down. This is getting dangerous." I didn't stand down. I threw a wild overhead strike, putting everything into it. Callus stepped inside my guard, too close for me to use the baton effectively. We were face to face. I saw something in her eyes that cut through my rage like ice water. She was genuinely worried about me, despite everything, despite the challenge, despite my aggression. She was trying to help me stop before I did something I couldn't take back. And then my fist shot out, instinctively, without thought. Not the training baton, my actual fist, aimed directly at her face. Three things happened simultaneously. First, my knuckles connected with her cheekbone with a sickening crack. Second, she caught my wrist with both hands, but too late to stop the impact. Third, the gymnasium doors burst open and Commander Thexus's voice roared across the space. "What in the name of the founders is happening here?" Time stopped. Callus released my wrist, touched her face. Blood ran from a split above her left eye. I had struck her with a real blow in an unsanctioned match. My career was over. Commander Thexus's forearms crossed, his eye stalks fixed on both of us with an intensity that made my crest pale to near white. "Medical bay? Now, both of you. Then my office. Do I make myself clear?" "Yes, Commander," we said in unison. As we walked toward medical, I finally found words. "I am sorry, that was—" "Yeah," she said quietly, blood dripping down her face. "You really shouldn't have. Why did you not fight back? You could have ended me." She stopped walking, looked at me with her one good eye. "Because I wasn't trying to hurt you, Veron. I was trying to help you stop before you did something you'd regret. I do not understand. I know. She resumed walking. That's part of the problem. The medical officer, a Pelverayan with 6 delicate manipulator arms, fixed Callus's eye in under 5 minutes. Tissue adhesive. Accelerated healing gel. The split sealed like it had never been. My head injury was mostly superficial. Spectacular bruise forming along my crest ridge. Nothing permanent. Then came Commander Thexus's office. And the reckoning. We stood at attention while Thexus paced behind his desk. The silence stretched for a full minute before he spoke. Explain. I opened my mouth ready to take full responsibility, but Callus beat me to it. My fault, Commander. I accepted an unsanctioned challenge when I knew better. No excuse. That is not, I began. Is that what happened, Cadet Veyron? Thexus's eye stalks swiveled toward me. She challenged you. I could have lied, should have lied. It would have been so easy to let Callus take the blame, to preserve what little remained of my pride. No, Commander, I challenged her. I struck first. I threw the punch that caused her injury. This is entirely my responsibility. Thexus studied us both for what felt like an eternity. Finally, he sighed, a sound like air leaking from a pressure suit. The Galactic Military Academy has strict regulations regarding unsanctioned combat. The penalties range from formal reprimand to immediate expulsion. My heart sank. Under normal circumstances, you would both be processed out of the academy by morning. This was it. Career over. Species honor destroyed. Everything I'd worked for gone. However, Thexus continued, these are not normal circumstances. He activated his desk display. Security footage, the gymnasium, our fight, everything captured in crystal clarity. But there was more. This footage was accessed 17 minutes ago, Thexus said, by Archon Vral's office staff. It has been submitted as evidence to the Galactic Council. My crest went pure white. Horror. Evidence of what? Callus asked. Evidence that humans are violent, aggressive, incompatible with civilized galactic society. Thexus's forearms gestured at the frozen image, my fist connecting with Callus's face. They will use this to argue for immediate expulsion. Not just from the Academy, from the Federation entirely. The room spun, my single punch, my moment of lost control, my failure. It wasn't just ending my career. It was ending humanity's place in galactic civilization. 72 hours until the vote. And I had just handed Archon Vral the perfect ammunition. Callus stood perfectly still, face pale beneath the medical sealant. How long do we have? She asked, her voice steady despite everything. Until the vote, 68 hours now. Thexus deactivated the display. I could expel you immediately, claim ignorance of the footage, separate you from what's about to unfold. Or, I heard myself ask, or, Thexus's eye stalks focused on both of us with laser intensity. You proved them wrong. Silence. I don't understand, sir, Callus said. The Council is watching everything that happens at this academy, every interaction between species, every conflict, every resolution. They're using us as a testing ground for the grand experiment of galactic integration. Thexus pulled up a new display, 300 cadet profiles, dozens of different species. Humanity is on trial, but here's what Archon Vral doesn't understand, so is everyone else. Every species brings prejudice. Every culture brings assumptions. Every individual brings the weight of 10,000 years of isolated evolution. He looked directly at me. You, Cadet Veyron, represent every species that feels threatened by newcomers. Every culture afraid of change. Every individual clinging to tradition because it's all they know how to do. Then he turned to Callus. And you, Cadet Callus, represent every outsider who's ever been told they don't belong. Every challenger of established order. Every voice asking, why do we do it this way, when the only answer is because we always have. Thexus's forearms opened wide. Separately, you're symbols of everything wrong with galactic integration. Together, he paused, together you could prove it's possible. What are you asking us to do? I asked. Unite this academy. 300 cadets, multiple species, many of whom have been at war with each other within living memory. You have 68 hours to create something that's never existed, a truly integrated tactical unit. Plan it, execute it. Demonstrate to the galaxy that cooperation across species lines isn't just possible, it's superior to anything we've achieved in isolation. The magnitude of what he was proposing hit me like physical force. That's impossible, Callus said. Yes, Texas agreed. It is. But the alternative is humanity's expulsion, and possibly the dissolution of the entire Federation integration program. Because if we can't make it work here in a controlled environment with the best and brightest from every species, then Archon Vral is right. We're not ready. None of us are. He closed the display. You have until Friday morning, 0800 hours. Public demonstration in the main arena. The council will be watching. Billions across the galaxy will be watching. Success means humanity stays. Failure means he didn't need to finish. Do you accept? I looked at Callus. She looked at me. This human I'd hated, resented, struck in anger. This human who'd tried to help me even when I didn't deserve it. 68 hours to achieve the impossible. I accept, I said. Yeah, Callus said. Me too. Good. Texas stood. Because whether you succeed or fail, the galaxy will remember what happens here. Make sure it's something worth remembering. We left his office in silence. The corridor stretched ahead of us, suddenly seeming very long. So, Callus said eventually, 68 hours to save my entire species. No pressure. I am truly sorry, I said again. About everything, the challenge, the punch, all of it. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. I believe you, and for what it's worth, I'm sorry too. I pushed you harder than I should have in combat theory. Sometimes I forget not everyone grew up with Earth-style trash talk. Trash talk. You know, friendly insults, banter, giving each other grief. It's how we bond. You bond by insulting each other. Weird, right? She almost smiled. But yeah, we do. Despite everything, the fight, the consequences, the impossible task ahead, I felt my mandibles twitch in what might have been amusement. Humans are very strange. Yeah, we get that a lot. She extended her hand, that bizarre human gesture of reconciliation. I looked at it. This small hand attached to this small human who'd somehow become the center of everything. Then I reached out and clasped it, feeling the surprising strength in her grip. Fresh start, she asked. Fresh start, I agreed. We stood there in the corridor, holding this fragile piece between us. 68 hours until the verdict. 300 cadets to unite. Multiple species to coordinate. One galaxy watching. And it all started with a Talonran warrior and a human outsider who'd spent hours trying to destroy each other. Now we had to save each other's worlds. The timer had started. Tuesday midnight. 68 hours remaining. Everything to lose. The countdown began at 0800 Tuesday morning. 68 hours to unite 300 cadets from multiple species who'd spent centuries killing each other. Callus and I stood in conference room 12. Empty chairs arranged in a circle, waiting for cadets who didn't know they'd been volunteered to save humanity. They won't come, I said. My mandibles clicked nervously. Why would they? I'm the cadet who lost control and struck someone. You're the human on trial. We have no authority here. Then we don't lead with authority. Callus pulled up a holographic display of the Academy's layout. We lead with honesty. The door opened. First arrival, 3 Talonran cadets, my own species. They looked at me with expressions I couldn't quite read. Disappointment, curiosity, pity, then a cluster of humans. 5 of them, moving together like they needed the safety of numbers. Yevik cadets next, the species we'd lost the border war to. Their crystalline forms refracted light in patterns that meant calculation. Assessment, more species filtered in, morphins, pelvoreans, cell cracks, Corin, others whose names I was still learning. 20 minutes later, the room held 63 cadets, not the 300 we needed, but more than I'd expected. Callus stepped into the center of the circle. Thank you for coming, she said. Simple, direct. I'm going to tell you something, and then you can decide if you want to stay or leave. No judgment either way. She pulled up the security footage, the gymnasium, the punch, all of it. Several cadets stood immediately, ready to leave. Wait, Callus said. That footage was submitted to the Galactic Council this morning. It's being used as evidence that humans are too violent for the Federation. In 68 hours, the Council votes on whether to expel my entire species. Silence. Absolute silence. Commander Thexus gave us a choice. We can accept expulsion, or we can prove them wrong. All of us, together. How, though? A Morphin cadet in the back, voice skeptical. Joint tactical demonstration, I said. Step forward to stand beside Callus. Multiple species, one coordinated operation executed perfectly in front of the entire galaxy. The room erupted. Impossible. Never been done. Species integration at that scale. The logistics alone. My people have been at war with the Talonrans for 3 generations. Humans can't be trusted. This is suicide for everyone's career. Callus let them talk, let the chaos build. Then she raised her hand. You're right, she said. It's impossible. The logistics are insane. Half the species in this room have killed each other's ancestors. And yes, trusting humans is a risk. She paused. But here's what I know. That footage shows me getting punched. It doesn't show what happened next. Doesn't show Cadet Veyron taking full responsibility. Doesn't show him choosing honesty over self-preservation. Doesn't show a Talonran warrior putting integrity above pride. My crest flushed. Not with shame this time. Something else. The galaxy is watching us fail before we even start, Callus continued, watching us prove that species can't work together, that we're too different, too broken, too stuck in old hatreds to build something new. She looked around the room, met every eye. I'm asking you to prove them wrong. Not for me, not for Earth, for everyone who's ever been told they don't belong, everyone who's been judged before they had a chance to prove themselves. A Pelveraean cadet, small, young, 6 arms trembling, raised one delicate manipulator. What if we fail? Then we fail, I said, but we fail trying something that mattered. Together. The room went quiet again. Long moment, cadets looking at each other, species barriers suddenly very visible in the physical space between them. Then a Yevik cadet stood, the one whose people had defeated mine in the border war. His crystalline form shifted colors from hostile red to cautious yellow. I'll stay, he said, not because I like Talonrans, but because running from hard things is how wars start in the first place. A human stood, then a Morphin, then 3 Talonrans. One by one, 63 became 63, committed. Good, Callus said. Now let's figure out how to do the impossible. Hour 4, Tuesday noon. We'd been planning for 4 hours and accomplished exactly nothing. The conference room looked like a war zone. Holographic displays scattered across every surface. Species clustered in their own groups. Arguments in 17 different languages simultaneously. Air assault doctrine requires minimum 500-meter altitude, a Talonran tactical officer was saying. Your species can't survive that thin atmosphere. Our stealth approach needs darkness, spectrum our eyes can process, a Yevik scout countered. Your running lights broadcast position to every hostile in the sector. Human combat engineers use explosives we consider barbaric. Pelveraean technical systems are too fragile for field conditions. Nobody's listening to anyone else. I stood in the center of it all, mandibles clicking so fast they hurt, and realized something terrible. We were replicating every failed integration attempt in galactic history, each species bringing their own doctrine, their own assumptions, their own certainty that their way was the right way and everyone else needed to adapt. Just like I'd done with Callus. Stop, I raised my voice. Everyone stop. 63 cadets turned to look at me. This isn't working, I said. We're not coordinating, we're competing. Every species trying to prove they're superior instead of building something that uses all our strengths. Then what do you suggest? A Corin officer. Aggressive, challenging. I suggest, Callus said standing beside me, that we stop trying to lead and start trying to listen. She pulled up a blank tactical display. Clean slate, no doctrine, no tradition, no, this is how we've always done it, just problems and solutions. Who can fly? Who can see in darkness? Who can hack systems? Who can move heavy equipment? Who can treat casualties? She started listing capabilities. Species by species, not comparing, not judging, just cataloging. Talonran's aerial assault, honor-bound tactics, warrior discipline. Humans improvisation, endurance, mechanical engineering. Yevik stealth, crystalline computation, energy, manipulation. Morphin's adaptation, height advantage, chemical analysis. Pelveraeans, delicate manipulation, technical precision, pattern recognition. On and on, through the species present. Not weaknesses, not limitations. Strengths. Now, Callus said, what scenario requires all of this? Silence, the productive kind. Then a Pelveraean cadet raised 3 arms. Hostage rescue, fortified position, multiple entry points, technical locks, hostile guards, civilian casualties if we fail. Callus smiled. Perfect. How would we do it? And suddenly cadets were talking, not arguing, talking. Yevik scouts identify guard patterns in darkness. Talonran air units create diversion at main entrance. Human engineers breach secondary wall. Pelveraean specialists disable security systems. Morphin medics staged for casualty extraction. Corin forces hold perimeter against reinforcements. For the first time in 4 hours, I saw possibility. Not perfect, not clean, not traditional, but possible. Hour 18, Wednesday, 2 in the morning. The academy's corridors were dark, most cadets sleeping, but conference room 12 blazed with light and voices. We'd expanded to 90 cadets now, word spreading through the academy like fire through oxygen. But expansion brought new problems. My species doesn't take orders from humans, a cell cracks officer was saying, his 6 limbs crossed in a posture of absolute refusal. It's against our cultural code. Then don't take orders from me, Callis said, exhaustion making her voice rough. Take input, suggestions, tactical recommendations. It's the same thing with different words. No, I said, it's not. I'd been watching Callis for hours now, watching how she worked, how she led without appearing to lead. Orders assume hierarchy, I continued. Recommendations assume competence. The first demands obedience. The second requests cooperation. One treats you as inferior. The other treats you as essential. The cell cracks' limbs uncrossed slightly. Explain. You have venom sacs that can paralyze in seconds, Callis said. I have exactly 0 venom sacs. If I order you to deploy them, I'm pretending to expertise I don't have. But if I say we need non-lethal incapacitation for guards, and your capabilities seem perfect for that role, that's acknowledging you're the expert. Long pause. Then the cell cracks' carapace shifted to a color I didn't recognize. But the translator offered acceptance. I can work with that. Small victory. But it mattered. Around 3 in the morning, Chief Dorian arrived. Human maintenance supervisor. 50-something gray hair eyes that had seen things that left marks. Heard you kids were trying to save the galaxy, he said, carrying a container of what humans called coffee. Figured you could use some fuel. He started distributing cups. Most species couldn't process the liquid. But the gesture mattered. Dorian found me staring at a tactical display that refused to make sense. You look like hell, son, he said. I am not your son. Automatic response. Then I caught myself. Apologies, that was rude. Nah, you're right, you're not. He sat down beside me. But you are someone trying to fix a mistake that wasn't entirely your fault. That's worth something. I struck her, in anger. There's no excuse. Didn't say there was an excuse, said it wasn't entirely your fault. System that puts that much pressure on kids, that many species with that many grudges, that much tradition, weighing everyone down, something was going to break eventually. He took a sip of his coffee. Lucky for everyone, you broke in a way that might actually fix things. How is any of this lucky? Because you cared enough to take responsibility. Because she cared enough to help you stop before you went too far. Because now you're both trying to prove something bigger than yourselves. Dorian stood, patted my shoulder with a familiarity that would have offended me a week ago. Now it felt like something else, something I didn't have words for. Humanity's got a saying, he said. Sometimes you gotta break eggs to make an omelet. You and Callis, you broke the egg. Now you gotta make something worth the mess. He left me with that thought and a cup of undrinkable human stimulant. I looked across the room, Callis coordinating with a group of Morphin scouts. Exhausted but focused. Still trying. 60 hours left, and we still had no idea if any of this would work. Hour 32, Wednesday, 4 in the afternoon. I found it by accident, researching tactical scenarios, looking for precedents of successful species integration, diving deeper into databases than I'd ever gone before. And there it was, buried in classified xenobiology files. Earth-Death World Classification Category 12. Category 12, the highest hazard rating in galactic assessment protocols. I pulled up the full report, started reading, and with each line something cold settled in my chest. Gravity 1.0 G standard baseline, but considered extreme for sustained habitation. Atmospheric pressure. Highly variable, includes oxygen concentrations that would be toxic to 73% of known species. Predator density, extreme. Apex predators on every landmass and in all major water bodies. Disease evolution rate, catastrophic. Pathogens evolving resistance faster than medical science can counter. Natural disasters. Volcanic, tectonic, meteorological, and astronomical hazards all present. Survival rating for standard galactic species, 0.3% without technological support. I kept reading. Indigenous species, Homo sapiens adaptations. Evolved under constant predation pressure. Persistence hunting capabilities can track prey for days without rest. Extreme temperature tolerance, minus 40 degrees Celsius to plus 50 degrees Celsius operational range. Rapid healing and immune system that treats most galactic pathogens as minor irritants. Pain tolerance, significantly above galactic median. Adrenal response, allowing temporary strength/speed increases of 30 to 40%. Psychological resilience to sustain trauma. There was more, pages more, but I'd stopped reading because I understood now. Humans weren't primitive. They'd evolved in hell. Every human in the Federation had survived conditions that would kill most galactic species within days. Their casual attitude toward danger because they'd been surrounded by it since birth. Their improvisation skills because nothing ever went according to plan on Earth. Their endurance because if you couldn't keep going, you died. I thought about Callus, about how easily she defeated me, about her movement patterns that seemed to predict my attacks. She hadn't been lucky. She'd been dealing with threats her entire life that barely registered on my threat assessment. Veyron, Callus stood in the doorway, concerned expression. I found something, I said. Turned the display toward her. She read it, face going through several expressions. Surprise, understanding. Something that might have been sadness. Yeah, she said finally. That's why a lot of species are scared of us. Not because we're primitive, because we're dangerous. You knew. Everyone from Earth knows. It's the first thing they tell you when you join the Federation. Don't talk about the classification. Don't emphasize the death world thing. Play nice. Act civilized. Make them forget what you're capable of. She sat down, suddenly looking very tired. That's why the vote matters so much. Archon Vral and his faction, they're not afraid we're too weak for the Federation. They're afraid we're too strong. That once we fully integrate, once we understand galactic technology and politics and military doctrine, we'll be unstoppable. Are they wrong, Sam? I don't know. Honest answer. Maybe humans have done terrible things to each other. We've got 10,000 years of war and genocide and cruelty in our history. But we've also got art and music and poetry and people who sacrifice everything to save strangers. She looked at the classification report. That rating, it's not wrong. Earth tried to kill us every single day, but it also made us adaptable, made us survivors, made us understand that the only way to make it through impossible situations is together. I thought about the last 32 hours, about humans working with species who'd never trusted them, about Callus leading without demanding, about cooperation emerging from honest acknowledgement of strengths instead of competition over superiority. That's why you're good at this, when I said, not the tactics, the people part. You've been building teams in survival conditions your whole life. Maybe. She almost smiled. Or maybe I just really don't want to be responsible for getting my entire species kicked out of the Federation. We sat there for a moment, the weight of discovery settling between us. Veyron, Callus said quietly, I need you to promise me something. What? If this goes wrong, if we fail, if humanity gets expelled and everything falls apart? She met my eyes. Remember that most of us are trying. Remember that fear and strength aren't the same thing. Remember that we're just people trying to find our place in something bigger than ourselves. My mandibles clicked softly. I promise, I said, but we're not going to fail. How do you know? Because you've already taught hundreds of cadets that cooperation is possible. Because Chief Dorian makes coffee for everyone regardless of species. Because a Talonran warrior who thought he understood everything learned more in 2 days than in 3 years of formal education. I stood, offered her my hand, that human gesture I was beginning to understand. Because if Earth can produce people like you, then maybe the rest of us should pay attention. She took my hand, pulled herself up. 56 hours left, she said. Then we'd better make them count. Hour 40, Thursday midnight. The alarm started without warning. Screaming alerts, red emergency lights flooding the corridors. My data pad lit up with a priority notification. Life support failure, dormitory level 9. Oxygen depletion. Critical. 50 cadets in danger. Estimated time to asphyxiation, 28 minutes. I ran. Callus was already in the corridor, running toward level 9. Others streaming from their quarters. Confused. Frightened. We reached the emergency command center together. Commander Thexus was already there, 4 arms flying across control panels. Status, Callus demanded. Catastrophic system failure, Thexus said. His eye stalks tracking multiple screens simultaneously. Atmospheric processors offline. Emergency reserves depleted. 50 cadets trapped. Door seals engaged to prevent decompression of adjacent levels. Can we override the seals? Not without risking everyone else on that entire deck. We're looking at 200 additional casualties if we breach containment. 27 minutes. Callis pulled up the system schematics, eyes scanning faster than I could track. Here, she said, pointing to a junction point. Emergency bypass. If we reroute power from the backup generators and manually restart the processors. That system requires a qualified engineer, Thexus said, and we'd need someone to physically access the maintenance crawlspace. It's barely large enough for a Pelvorian. I can do it. Everyone turned to look at Callis. Human flexibility, she said. We evolved climbing and crawling through tight spaces. I can fit. You're not qualified on Cavarian atmospheric systems, I said. No, but I'm qualified on 17 different life support platforms. Talk me through the differences. I'll adapt. Thexus looked at her for 2 seconds, then started pulling up technical specifications. Go, he said. I'll coordinate from here. Callis ran. I ran after her. Veyron, you can't help with this, she said, not slowing down. I can coordinate evacuation. Talon ran rescue protocols. Keep people calm while you work. We reached level 9. Emergency bulkhead sealed. Small maintenance hatch beside it barely 2 feet in diameter. Through the observation window I could see cadets. Multiple species, all showing signs of oxygen deprivation. Some unconscious already. 24 minutes. Callis stripped off her jacket, started wriggling into the maintenance hatch. Talk to me, Commander, she said, her voice coming through the communication system. Thexus's voice. You'll need to access Junction Point 7, 3 manual overrides, then physical restart on the primary processor. Got it. Veyron, start evacuation protocol. I activated the emergency channel to the sealed dormitory. This is Cadet KL Veyron. If you can hear me, acknowledge. Weak responses. Some species too oxygen deprived to respond. Help is coming. Human engineer accessing the system now. I need everyone to slow their breathing. Reduce movement. Conserve oxygen. This is standard Talonran rescue doctrine. You will survive if you follow instructions. I walked them through it, step by step. Breathing exercises. Calm voice despite the terror clawing at my chest. Meanwhile, Callis was crawling through maintenance tunnels barely wide enough for her body. First override, she said, strain in her voice. Stuck, corrosion on the contact points. Can you clear it? Working on it. Human improvisation, remember. Sounds of metal on metal, her breathing getting harder. Cleared, moving to second override. 20 minutes. I watched the oxygen levels dropping on my display. Watched cadets collapsing one by one. A Pelvorian, young, maybe the same one who'd asked about failure in our first meeting. She wasn't moving. Callis, we're losing them. I know, almost there. Second override, this one's jammed. Need to, metal shrieking, something breaking. Got it, third override, 15 minutes. Veyron, I need something to bridge the circuit. The connector's missing. What kind of something? Conductive metal. Small enough to fit, strong enough to carry current. I looked around. Nothing. The maintenance area was stripped clean. Then I looked down at my uniform, at the rank insignia on my collar. Talonran Warrior cast marker. Metal alloy specifically designed to be distinctive. Conductive. The symbol of everything I'd worked for. I pulled it off. Emergency hatch opening in 3 seconds, I said. Catch. I threw it through the small opening, heard it clatter in the maintenance tunnel. Got it, Callis said. Perfect size. Bridging the circuit now. 10 minutes. Primary processor restart, manually engaging the massive grinding noise. The sound of machinery that hadn't moved in years suddenly forced into motion. Come on, come on. 8 minutes. Then faint but unmistakable the whisper of air moving through vents. Green lights on my display. Oxygen levels climbing. System operational. Thexus confirmed. Atmospheric restoration in progress. I slumped against the wall, watching through the observation window as cadets started moving again. Coughing. Gasping. Alive. Callis emerged from the maintenance hatch 10 minutes later, covered in grease and coolant, bleeding from a dozen small cuts where metal edges had caught her, but smiling. Everyone okay? She asked. Everyone's alive because of you. She noticed my collar, the missing insignia. You gave up your rank marker. Seemed less important than 50 lives. She looked at me, really looked at me. 3 days ago, would you have done that? I thought about it, honestly. No, I said. 3 days ago, I would have waited for properly qualified personnel, followed protocols. preserved my status symbols. What changed? I met someone who showed me that rank isn't the same as leadership, that symbols aren't the same as honor. Before I could second-guess myself, I pulled off my second rank insignia, the matching piece. Here, I said, offering it to her. Veyron, I can't. You just saved 50 cadets with improvised engineering and a piece of metal from my uniform. You've earned this more than I ever did by just being born into the right caste. She took it, held it carefully. Thank you. Around us, cadets were emerging from the dormitory, shaken but alive, species mixing naturally now. The crisis had done what 32 hours of planning couldn't shown them, that survival mattered more than tradition. A Yevik cadet approached, the one whose people had defeated mine in the war. You saved my life, he said to Callus, then turned to me, to both of you. We were just, I started. You coordinated us, kept us calm, gave us something to focus on instead of panic. That's leadership. Other cadets gathering, multiple species, all looking at us with something new in their eyes. Not skepticism, trust. Then my datapad chirped. Priority message from Archon Vral's office. My chest went cold. I opened it. The message was short, brutal. Emergency council session convened. Life support incident attributed to human sabotage. Evidence submitted. Vote on expulsion moved to public forum. Demonstration will occur in main arena Friday 0800 hours. Galactic broadcast. Billions watching. Failure will result in immediate expulsion. This is your final opportunity to prove integration is viable. Archon Vral Senior Council Member Callus read over my shoulder. They moved it to public arena, she said quietly. Billions watching. 48 hours from now. We stood there, the weight of it settling like gravity. Not a demonstration anymore. A trial. Public execution of an idea. Either we proved cooperation worked in front of the entire galaxy, or we proved Archon Vral right, and humanity disappeared from the Federation forever. We can do this, I said, not sure if I believed it. Yeah, Callus said, not sure either. Chief Dorian appeared, somehow always appearing when needed. You kids just saved 50 cadets, he said, with no preparation, no proper equipment, just guts and improvisation. You think the galaxy's watching? Let them watch. Let them see what happens when people actually work together. He pulled out his datapad. Already got 230 cadets signed up for the demonstration. Word spreading. They saw what you did tonight. They want to be part of it. 230. Not 300, but close. 48 hours, Callus said. 48 hours to change everything, I said. We looked at each other, human and Talonran. Two people who'd started as enemies and become something else. Allies. Maybe more. Let's get to work, she said. Hour 48, Thursday 8 in the morning. Conference room 12 was packed. Couldn't fit another cadet if we tried. 283 cadets. Multiple species, all here, all committed. Callus stood in the center. I stood beside her. Tomorrow morning, she said, 0800 main arena, billions watching. No one spoke. We're going to execute a hostage rescue scenario, live fire simulation, real consequences if we fail. The galaxy is going to watch us either prove cooperation works or prove Archon Vral right. Still silence. Every species here brings something essential. Talonran air assault, human engineering, Yevik stealth, Morphin adaptation, Pelveraean precision, different strengths. One mission. She pulled up the tactical plan. 3 days of work, distilled into 90 minutes of coordinated action. This is going to be hard, I said, harder than anything any of us have done. Some of you will fail. Some of the plan will break. But that's not what they're judging. They're judging whether we can recover, whether we can adapt, whether we can support each other when things go wrong. A Morphin cadet raised a manipulator. What if we're not good enough? Callus smiled, tired but genuine. 3 days ago, I thought I was alone, thought humans didn't belong here, thought the galaxy had already decided we were too different, too dangerous, too much trouble. She looked around the room. Then a Talonran warrior chose honesty over pride. A Yevik scout chose cooperation over old grudges. A Cellcrax officer chose to trust someone from a species he'd been taught to fear. And 50 cadets lived because others cared more about lives than traditions. She paused. So are we good enough? I don't know, but we're here, we're trying, and tomorrow the galaxy is going to see what that looks like. Multiple cadets, multiple species, all standing, not because they were ordered, because they chose it. 24 hours until demonstration, I said. Let's show them something they'll never forget. The room erupted in voices. Not arguments this time. Determination. Chief Dorian found us as the cadets dispersed to their practice sections. You kids did good, he said. We haven't done anything yet, Callus said. Wrong. He put a hand on each of our shoulders. Human gesture of solidarity. You built something that wasn't supposed to exist. Cadets who trust each other across species lines. That's already impossible. Tomorrow you just have to make it public. He started to leave. Turned back. One more thing. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm proud to have watched it. Proud to have helped. You reminded an old man why the Federation matters in the first place. He left us there. 24 hours until the verdict. 24 hours until the galaxy decided if cooperation was real or fantasy. 24 hours until humanity's fate was sealed. Callus looked at me. Varenby, yes. Whatever happens tomorrow, thank you for taking responsibility, for choosing to fix instead of blame, for becoming this. She gestured at the empty conference room, the holographic displays showing tactical positions, the evidence of 3 days of impossible work. Thank you for showing me what Talonran honor really means. My mandibles clicked softly. Affection, now not agitation. And thank you for showing me what strength really looks like. Not just physical capabilities, just not giving up, even when the galaxy says you don't belong. We stood there, silent understanding passing between us. Tomorrow would decide everything. But tonight we'd already built something that mattered. Cadets ready to prove that different didn't mean divided. Multiple species ready to stand together. One chance to change the galaxy. Thursday evening, 24 hours remaining, the future uncertain. But hope fragile, stubborn, hope still burning. Hour 72. Friday morning, 0800 hours. The main arena opened like a steel flower. I'd never seen it at full capacity. 17,000 seats rising in concentric circles around the central demonstration floor. Every seat filled. Every species in the Federation represented. Talonrons in the warrior section. Humans clustered together near the top. Yevik crystalline forms refracting light in the lower tiers. Morphins, Pelvarians, Corin. Species I'd never seen in person. All here, all watching. But the physical audience was nothing compared to the rest. Holographic displays ring the upper levels. Live feeds to every Federation world. Billions watching simultaneously. Trillions across the galaxy tuning in to watch humanity's final trial. Callus stood beside me on the preparation deck beneath the arena floor. 283 cadets in formation behind us. Multiple species, all in standard combat gear. All waiting. You ready for this? She asked quietly. My mandibles clicked once. Nervous energy. No, I said honestly. Utai terrified. She checked her equipment for the 5th time. But I'd rather fail trying than never try at all. Above us, the arena sound system activated. A voice I recognized. Archon Vral. Citizens of the Galactic Federation, we gather today to witness a demonstration that will determine humanity's place among civilized species. The crowd hushed. For 2 years, we have attempted integration with Earth. For 2 years, we have witnessed incompatibility, violence, disregard for established protocol. And now, his voice hardened. Evidence of sabotage threatening the lives of Academy cadets. Murmurs rippled through the audience. Today, these cadets will demonstrate whether cross-species cooperation is achievable or whether humanity's aggressive nature makes peaceful coexistence impossible. The preparation deck platform started rising, lifting us toward the arena floor. The scenario is simple, Vral continued. Hostage rescue, fortified position, hostile forces. Success requires coordination across species lines. Failure proves what I have long suspected: integration is a beautiful dream that reality cannot support. We rose into the light, 17,000 beings watching, billions beyond, all waiting to see us fail. The platform locked into position. Arena floor stretched before us. Holographic fortifications shimmered at the far end. 3-story structure, multiple entry points, simulated hostile forces inside. Somewhere in that structure, holographic civilians. Our objective: save them all. Lose none of our own. 90 minutes. Begin. The first 30 minutes went perfectly. Too perfectly. Yevik scouts moved in darkness. Spectrum our sensors couldn't detect. Marking guard positions. Identifying entry vulnerabilities. Feeding data back to our command center. Talonran air units launched. I watched my own species create the diversion exactly as planned. Precision flying that drew simulated hostile fire away from our primary approach vector. Human combat engineers, callous leading them, breached the secondary wall. Controlled explosives. Textbook execution. Opening a corridor exactly where our tactical models predicted. Pelverian technical specialists disabled security systems. 6 delicate manipulator arms working in perfect synchronization across alien technology they'd never trained on. Morphin medics staged for casualty extraction. Ready for injuries we all prayed wouldn't come. Species working together, flowing like a single organism with different capabilities. The crowd watched in silence. I coordinated from the mobile command position, tracking every element, every cadet, every second. Breach complete, Callis reported, moving to hostage location. Perimeter secure, a Corin officer confirmed. No hostile reinforcements detected. Technical systems offline, the Pelverian team lead said. You have clear access. 45 minutes in, we were going to make it. We were actually going to prove them wrong. Then the alarm started. Not simulated. Real. Emergency alerts screaming across every communication channel. My display lit up with warnings I'd never seen in training scenarios. Unknown combatants detected. Live weapon signatures. This is not a drill. The arena erupted in chaos. 17,000 beings on their feet, shouting, confusion spreading like fire. I saw them before my tactical display registered. 6 figures in stealth gear, emerging from maintenance access points around the arena, moving toward the demonstration floor with purpose that made my crest go white, carrying weapons that weren't simulation equipment, real plasma rifles, military grade, illegal in civilian sectors, all aimed at the human cadets. Hostile contact, I shouted. All personnel, defensive formation, protect the humans. Training took over. 283 cadets reacting instantly, not scattering, not fleeing, forming a defensive perimeter. With humans at the center, the attackers opened fire, not simulation pulses, real plasma. Real energy discharges capable of killing in a single hit. A Morphin cadet took the first shot meant for a human engineer. Went down hard. Medical alerts screaming. Hold position, Callis was shouting. Defensive only, do not return fire. She was right. Returning fire meant proving Vral's point, meant showing the galaxy that humans brought violence wherever they went. But holding position meant dying. Another shot, a Talonran cadet from my own species, diving to cover a human medic. Taking plasma meant for someone else. The attackers advanced. I could see their faces now through the chaos. Recognized species. Corin, Yevik, others, all wearing insignias I'd seen before. Vral's faction, supremacists. They weren't trying to stop the demonstration. They were trying to murder humans in front of the entire galaxy. Veyron Callis, urgent. We can't just stand here. If we fight back, we prove them right. If we don't fight back, we die. She was right. I was right. We were both right, and it didn't matter because plasma fire was cutting through our defensive formations and cadets were falling and the galaxy was watching and defensive maneuvers authorized. Commander Thexus's voice, coming from somewhere in the arena command center. Protect yourselves, non-lethal response only. Permission, I grabbed a training baton. Not enough against plasma rifles, but something. Shield wall formation, I shouted. Protect each other, non-lethal restraint protocols. What happened next would be analyzed for decades. 283 cadets, multiple species, many of whom had been enemies within living memory, all moving as one, not to attack, to protect. Talonrans with superior strength formed the outer wall, using their own bodies as shields. Morphins with their height advantage spotted incoming fire. Calling warnings, Pelverians with technical expertise hacked the arena's defensive systems. Bringing up energy barriers meant for crowd control. Humans pulled injured cadets to safety. Battlefield medicine learned from survival. And in the center of it all, Callis and I coordinated. Human and Talonran. 2 voices calling movements in perfect synchronization. The attackers didn't expect resistance, didn't expect prey to become protectors. A cell cracks officer used his venom sacs, non-lethal paralysis, dropping one attacker clean. A Yevik scout used crystalline refraction, blinding another with focused light. A human engineer, simple improvised solution through a tool that tangled an attacker's legs, sent him sprawling. One by one, the attackers went down. Not killed, restrained, non-lethal, controlled, disciplined, everything Archon Vral claimed we couldn't be. Security forces arrived 90 seconds later, Too late to help, just in time to witness. The last attacker fell, paralyzed by combined efforts of three species working together. Silence. Absolute silence across 17,000 seats. I stood there, breathing hard, mandibles locked, watching my own people, Talonrons who'd taken plasma fire meant for humans, who'd chosen protection over self-preservation, watching species who'd been killing each other for centuries now helping each other stand, checking injuries, supporting the wounded, not because they were ordered, because they chose it. Then the arena screens lit up, every holographic display simultaneously, and I saw something that made my chest tighten. Chief Dorian, in the security control center, slumped over a console, face gray, one hand on his chest, the other hand on a broadcast override control. Citizens of the Federation, his voice rasped through the speakers, barely audible. I'm Chief Petty Officer Marcus Dorian, human, retired, 15 years at this academy. He coughed. Painful sound. What you just witnessed was an assassination attempt authorized by members of Archon Vral's faction. I have evidence, communications, weapons procurement records, payment transfers. The screen shifted, showing messages, conversations, plans to eliminate humans during the demonstration when it would look like combat casualties, showing Archon Vral's personal signature on authorization documents. They were afraid, Dorian continued, voice getting weaker, not of human violence, of human potential, of what happens when we fully integrate into galactic civilization, of losing the power structure they've maintained for centuries. Another cough, worse this time. I'm transmitting all evidence to the council chambers, to every news network, to every world in the Federation. Let the galaxy see the truth. His hand slipped from the console. And let them see what these kids did when they had every reason to hate each other, but chose family instead. The transmission cut. I was running before conscious thought, Callus beside me. We reached the security control center in time to see medical personnel arriving, in time to see Chief Dorian on the floor. Heart attack. Massive. Stress and age and sacrifice all combining into one final moment. Chief, Callus dropped to her knees beside him. Stay with me. Medical is here. You're going to be fine. Dorian's eyes focused on her. Weak smile. Did good, kid. You proved it. Humans belong here. You proved it, she said, tears streaming down her face. You exposed them. You saved us. Nah. His hand reached up, touched her face. Gentle. You saved yourselves. I just made sure they saw it. His eyes shifted to me. Veyron, take care of her. Take care of all of them. Promise. I promise, I said. Mandibles locked because if they moved, I'd lose control entirely. Good man. Breath rattling now. Better than you were 3 days ago. His hand fell. Medical personnel worked frantically, trying everything, advanced technology, desperate measures. But Chief Marcus Dorian, human veteran father figure to hundreds of cadets across multiple species, died at 0914 hours on a Friday morning. Died making sure the truth reached everyone. Died so that kids he barely knew could have a future worth living. Callus didn't make a sound, just held his hand, shaking silently. I stood there, watching a human grieve, watching strength and vulnerability exist in the same moment, learning what sacrifice actually meant. They suspended the demonstration, cleared the arena floor, medical teams attending to wounded cadets, 14 injuries total, none fatal, 1 death. The council convened an emergency session while the galaxy watched. Archon Vral arrested, his faction exposed. Supremacist conspiracy laid bare before billions. 2 hours of deliberation. Callus and I sat in the preparation area, surrounded by cadets who'd become something more than classmates. Who'd become the family Dorian knew we could be. Then Commander Thexus appeared. The council has reached a verdict, he said. They want both of you into the chamber. Now. We walked through corridors that seemed longer than I remembered. Past cadets who saluted, past species who nodded respect, past humans who looked at Callus like she'd carried their entire world on her shoulders. And she had. The council chamber doors opened. 12 representatives, 12 species, all seated in the judgment circle. Billions watching on every screen across the galaxy. The senior magistrate Thexus's brother, I'd learned, spoke first. Cadets Callus and Veyron, step forward. We did. You were given 72 hours to demonstrate that cross-species integration is viable, to prove that cooperation can overcome prejudice. to show the galaxy that different doesn't mean divided. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. The evidence submitted by Chief Dorian has been reviewed. Archon and 17 members of his faction have been arrested for conspiracy to commit murder, for sabotage, for attempting to manipulate this council through violence. The magistrate's eye stalk swept across both of us. But that is not why we are here. We are here to judge humanity, to determine whether Earth belongs in this federation. He paused. Let the weight settle. We have witnessed an assassination attempt during a peaceful demonstration. We have seen violence where there should have been cooperation. We have watched people die. My crest paled. This was it. Expulsion. Failure. We have also witnessed something else, the magistrate continued. We have watched cadets from multiple species choose to protect each other, without orders, without preparation, simply because it was right. His voice strengthened. We have seen Talonrons take fire meant for humans, Yevik defending former enemies, Morphins, Pelvarians, Selkraks, Korin, every species represented here today, all choosing family over fear. He looked directly at me. Cadet Veron, you began this 72-hour period by striking a human in anger. You end it by standing beside her as an equal, as a partner, as someone who has learned that strength comes not from dominance but from cooperation. Speak now. Tell this council what you have learned. Everyone watching, waiting. I stepped forward. Magistrates, I began. 3 days ago, I believed I understood honor. I believed I understood strength. I believed the Talonran warrior tradition made me superior to species who hadn't spent millennia perfecting military doctrine. My mandibles clicked softly. I was wrong about everything. I looked at Callus. I struck this human in anger because she challenged my assumptions. She questioned traditions I held sacred. She defeated me in combat and made me confront the possibility that everything I'd been taught might be incomplete. Turning back to the council. But here is what she taught me instead. Honor isn't following rules blindly. It's choosing truth over comfort. Strength isn't dominance. It's endurance when everything says quit. And tradition isn't sacred because it's old. It's sacred when it helps us become better than we were. I gestured toward the arena. Those cadets didn't defend each other because of doctrine. They defended each other because they'd learned in 72 hours what my species spent millennia forgetting, that we're stronger together than apart, that different capabilities make us complete instead of divided. That civilization isn't measured by how well we follow old rules, but how well we build new ones. My crest blazed full purple. Not anger, pride. You asked if humanity belongs in the Federation. I cannot answer for the Council, but I can answer for myself. I would serve beside Cadet Callus anywhere in this galaxy, would trust her with my life, would follow her into situations where doctrine fails and only character matters. I straightened. Humanity didn't ask to be judged. They asked for a chance to prove themselves. They've done that. The question now is whether we're wise enough to accept what they're offering. Silence. Then the magistrate nodded. Cadet Callus, do you have anything to add? Callus stepped forward. I could see her hands shaking, see the weight of her entire species' future pressing down. Magistrates, she said, quiet but clear. I'm just an engineer. I fix things, I solve problems, I improvise when systems fail. She looked at the council. My people aren't perfect. We're violent sometimes. We question too much. We don't respect traditions we don't understand. We make mistakes. Pause. But we also don't give up. We adapt. We endure. And we believe, maybe naively, that everyone deserves a chance to prove who they are instead of being judged for where they came from. Her voice strengthened. Chief Dorian died making sure the truth reached you. Died so that kids from multiple species could have a future worth living. I can't bring him back. Can't undo the violence that happened today. Can't promise humanity will never make mistakes again. She met each council member's eyes. But I can promise this, we'll keep trying. Keep learning. Keep building bridges even when they burn. Because that's what we do. We learned that the only way through impossible situations is together. She glanced at me. Cadet Veron taught me that prejudice isn't permanent, that people can change when given reasons and time, that honor and integrity exist across species lines if we're brave enough to look. Final words. So yes, I believe humanity belongs here, not because we're perfect, but because we're trying. And maybe that's enough. The chamber fell silent. 12 representatives, 12 species, all looking at each other. Then the magistrate stood. The Galactic Council has deliberated. A vote on humanity's continued Federation membership will now proceed. Public ballot. Billions watching. Let the record show transparency. One by one representatives voted. Morphin representative, affirm humanity's membership. Pelverayan representative, affirm. Cellcrax representative, affirm. Yevik representative, the species that had defeated Talonrons in war, paused. Looked at us, then affirm. Talonran representative, affirm with pride. On and on, 12 representatives, 12 affirmative votes, unanimous. By unanimous consent, when the magistrate announced, humanity's Federation membership is confirmed and strengthened. Furthermore, this council enacts the integration doctrine named for the partnership demonstrated by Cadets Veyron and Callus, requiring cooperative training protocols across all Federation military academies. The arena beyond erupted, 17,000 beings cheering, billions across the galaxy watching history. Additionally, the magistrate continued, Chief Marcus Dorian is posthumously awarded the Federation Star for extraordinary service, the highest civilian honor. His sacrifice will be remembered as the moment supremacy died and cooperation was born. Callus's shoulders shook, tears flowing freely now. Cadets Veyron and Callus, the Council recognizes your achievement. You are hereby graduated with highest honors. Assignments will be distributed following memorial services for Chief Dorian. We saluted. Together, human and Talonran. The verdict was in. Humanity belonged. Chief Dorian's memorial service filled the Academy chapel to capacity. Multiple species, all wearing dress uniforms, all grieving the man who'd made coffee for everyone, who'd remembered names, who'd taught us that service mattered more than rank. Callus delivered the eulogy. Chief Dorian told me once that sometimes you have to break eggs to make an omelet. Her voice steady despite tears. He said Cadet Veyron and I had broken the egg. Now we had to make something worth the mess. She looked out at the assembled cadets. We made something, Chief. Made a family. Made proof that different species can trust each other. Made a future where kids from multiple worlds can stand together without fear. Pause. You'll never see that future. Never see the ships we'll serve on. Never see the galaxy we're going to build. But you made it possible. You sacrificed everything so we could have everything. Her hand went to her collar, to the Talonran rank insignia I'd given her. Thank you for teaching us that service matters, that truth matters. That sacrifice for something bigger than yourself is the highest honor anyone can achieve. Final words. Rest easy, Chief. We'll take it from here. Graduation ceremony happened the next day. Receiving commendations, recognitions, assignments. The cadets who'd stood together during the attack, they had a new designation, the United Generation, first class to graduate under the integration doctrine, first proof that cooperation worked. My name was called, Cadet Kale Veyron, graduated with highest honors, commendation for leadership under fire, assignment USSS Horizon, tactical officer. I walked across the stage, received my commission, then Callus's name. Cadet Rin Callus, graduated with highest honors. Commendation for technical excellence and courage beyond expectation. Assignment USS Horizon, Chief Engineering Officer. She walked up, caught my eye. USS Horizon, the same ship. We weren't being separated, we were being assigned together. The Federation's first fully integrated warship. Human and alien crew working as one. Not an ending, a beginning. 1 week later, USS Horizon prepared for departure. Callus and I stood on the bridge, looking out at stars that suddenly seemed closer than before. Partners, she asked quietly. I took her hand. Firm grip, equal respect. Partners. The Horizon's engines hummed to life. 300 crew members. Multiple species, all working together. Captain A. Morphin veteran took the command chair. Helm plot course for the outer reaches. Let's see what's out there that needs discovering. The Horizon moved, turned toward open space. I stood there. Talonran warrior who'd thought he understood everything, who'd learned he understood nothing, who'd discovered that the greatest strength wasn't dominance, it was standing beside someone different and calling them family. The Horizon jumped to hyperspace, carrying proof that cooperation worked, carrying the legacy of a chief who'd sacrificed everything so kids from multiple worlds could stand together. The stars streaked past, white lines in infinite darkness. 72 hours ago, I'd made the worst decision of my life, struck someone in anger, nearly destroyed both our futures. nearly ended humanity's place in the Federation. But that mistake had become something else, a catalyst, a transformation. Proof that broken things can be repaired if you cared enough to try. The voyage had just begun. The memorial stood in the center of the Galactic Military Academy. Chief Marcus Dorian, Federation star, the man who changed everything. Around it, plaques listing the United Generation, all still serving, all still proving cooperation worked. And beneath that, the integration doctrine, now galactic law, requiring every military academy to train mixed species units. The results, 10,000 integrated ships across the Federation. 4 decades of service. 0 casualties from the species conflict. I stood before that memorial. Gray now, older. Admiral's rank on my collar, callus beside me. Chief engineer of the entire Federation fleet. Hair showing silver at the temples. 40 years of service together. 40 years of proving it worked. Think he'd be proud, she asked. I know he would be. Behind us, new cadets filed past. Current class, hundreds of them, dozens of species, all learning what we'd learned the hard way. That prejudice isn't permanent, that people can change, that sometimes the worst mistakes become the greatest lessons. A young Talonran cadet approached, nervous, eager. Admiral Veyron, is it true you once struck your human partner? I looked at Callus, 40 years of partnership, friendship, family. Yes, I said, it's true. How did you overcome that? How did you become this? I smiled, mandibles clicking with genuine warmth. We had 72 hours to prove cooperation was possible. We had a chief who believed in us. We had cadets willing to try. Pause. But mostly we decided that mistakes don't define us. What we do after matters more. The cadet nodded, processing. Thank you, sir. I hope to serve like you someday. He left, rejoined his class, mixed species, already working together, already building the future. Callus took my hand. 40 years, she said, and it started with a punch. Best mistake I ever made. Same. We stood there. 2 old officers who'd once been enemies, who'd become partners, who changed a galaxy by refusing to give up. The stars above us, the future ahead of us, the legacy behind us. And somewhere I knew Chief Dorian was still watching, still proud of what we built, still reminding us that service matters more than rank, that truth matters more than power, that sacrifice for something bigger than yourself is the highest honor. The cadets marched past, singing the Academy anthem, mixed voices, united purpose, the United Generation's children, carrying forward what we'd started, proving every day that cooperation worked, that different meant stronger, that family was something you chose, not something you were born into. Callus squeezed my hand. Think we changed things. I looked at the memorial, at the cadets, at the galaxy we'd helped build. I think we gave people a choice between fear and hope, between division and unity, between old hatreds and new possibilities. And they chose, look around, what do you see? She looked, saw what I saw, multiple species, thousands of cadets, all working together, all proving that 72 hours of courage could echo across decades. I see family, she said quietly. So do I. The horizon, our old ship, now a training vessel, hung in the distance. Still serving, still teaching, still carrying forward the lesson we'd learned the hard way. That broken things can be repaired, that enemies can become family, that sometimes the worst mistakes lead to the greatest transformations. If you're brave enough to trade on. The memorial gleamed in the starlight. Chief Marcus Dorian, the man who'd sacrificed everything so we could have everything. The man who'd believed in 2 kids when nobody else did. The man who'd taught us that service matters. His legacy lived in every integrated ship, every mixed species crew, every cadet who learned cooperation instead of competition. His legacy lived in us, and it would live forever. Because some sacrifices echo across time. Some choices change galaxies. Some 72-hour trials become the foundation for centuries of peace. We saluted the memorial, then turned toward the future. Together, always together, the way Chief Dorian taught us, the way the United Generation proved possible, the way the galaxy finally learned. Family isn't what you're born into, it's what you build, one choice at a time, one partnership at a time, one 72-hour trial at a time. Until different doesn't mean divided anymore, it just means home.